Okay, here we are back again, and just to remind you of the painting, my original painting of the cherry blossom, just to show it to you again. I'm standing behind my phone, this is me here, and it's just to let you have a look at it, and I'm going to send you a photograph of it as well with this. But anyway, it's so far it's going okay, but I've probably made loads of mistakes. The camera angle has probably changed. I've tried to get it back to the same position each time. But we seem to be going okay. Anyway, sure, look, it's my first time, and like a person who never made a mistake, never made anything, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to take this back now, what I'm working on. You can see how much smaller mine is from the original, which I did a few weeks ago. Put this back, and I think in the last video I forgot to show you my mixture there. It was the cadmium yellow and light permanent green to make that yellowish green mixture. There it is there for the foreground. Do you remember we did the horizontal strokes just to get that foreground in? So that was my mistake. You see, as I go along, I'm learning. Okay, now what we also have is, I'm just going to get a little bit of tissue now again. We also have now on the palette, we have the dioxine purple there, which I told you about. This one, beautiful tone. As a wash, it's beautiful. As a transparent color, it's a really lovely purple. If you can see that, hopefully I have the right angle. And that's their dioxine purple, if you can see that, yeah. And then we have our cobalt blue out as well, which at this stage, which everyone knows in my class because I always use it as a base color. Well, for most of my paintings when we're working in the class, in the studio. Okay, cobalt blue. And I put out then the magenta. Medium magenta, okay, which I thought we'll just work with that at the moment. I can do another painting we're using reds, but I thought because I have these colors here, and a lot of people in my class do have these colors, but if you don't have the medium magenta, you just use your red for the moment. Use red, okay? Medium red, cadmium red, medium. I'll get it now for you. I've moved around the colors again. That's the cadmium red medium. You can use that for the base color on the cherry blossom if you want to start off with. But I'm using the magenta medium. But to start off, what we want to do is we're going to go for a smaller brush. I'm going for my smallest square brush that I have, which is the number 4. As I told you before, I was using 6 and 4, and that's the larger one I was using to put down the base colors. Okay, but I use this number 4 because first of all we're going to get in the shadows, little shadows at the bottom of those trees in the distance. And remember I told you we're just going to touch, a little touch of this will do it. In fact, the cobalt blue into your green. And it's just going to deepen it a little bit. Hopefully I have the right angle here. Going to deepen it a little bit, and then as soon as we have that tone is deep enough, I think. And it's a nice square, small, not too big brush. I'm just going to clean off the end of it there. It gets a bit messy. And what we're going to do then is we're just going to get a few little darker tones down here, higgledy-piggledy along the bottom, and irregular at the top, okay? Irregular and higgledy-piggledy throughout it, okay? Just a little, because you don't want a straight line going across. You want to give the impression that the shadows at the bottom of this little tree line is varying, is going up and down. And these will be behind the cherry blossom. But just give a nice contrast to the whole thing. And you can see now I'm painting out at an angle, so my brush is tending to slant a bit over to the right. That's how I'm getting those slanty strokes. But when you're sitting directly in front of it, you'll be getting the full-on stroke of your square brush or your round brush, whatever brush you want. But it has to be a smallish brush just to get these little strokes to give that sense of a shadow at the base of these trees. Now I didn't mix enough, so what I'm going to do is I'm just putting another little bit of blue, cobalt blue, into the green here. Let's see how I'm doing it. Hopefully I keep forgetting the camera is the lens. I will get used to it eventually when I set it up. As I said, this is just my first experiment, so bear with me, and you can have a good laugh at it as well, enjoying all the mistakes I've made. Okay, we have that nice mixture again, so we're going to come out here again on this side. Hopefully we're still in view. You can see you want it fairly dark down at the bottom because the shadows underneath, the lovely foliage of trees They're always fairly deep, unless you have a bit of sunlight coming in there, but we don't have any sunlight here. Our sunlight is going to be the cherry blossoms. They're going to lift the whole painting. Just a little bit there as well, tiny bit all the way across, keeping in mind that you want irregular lines going across, you know, to give that sense of little, you know, in-depth parts of some trunks of these trees in the distance are more forward than others. Some of them are very thin, there's shadowy areas, and it's just to get a little bit of detail in there, not an awful lot. Okay, you can see, so I'm doing just going along the line there as well. Just have a little, we don't want it too uneven there, because as I said, the cherry blossom is going to take over and really give a great contrast against these greens and give that sense of brightness and celebration of colour. Now, I'd say that is enough there. I wouldn't do any more with that, okay? Because a lot of it will disappear behind the blossoms, but it's just to show you what we can do there. Okay, I'm going to clean this off. By the way, I already cleaned my water because there was a lot of green in it, so because we're going into the medium magenta, I cleaned it earlier while you were having your tea break, okay? And your biscuits or whatever you're having, your wine break, whatever it was. Now, what we're going to do then is, in the foreground, there's a little lighter area here in the foreground. So we're going to use more of this cadmium yellow medium. Just lift it up there, because I forgot for a second that you couldn't see it. More of the cadmium yellow into that green, to get a little bit brighter, okay? You can see I don't use a lot of colour, because I find you build up colour as you go along. You don't just throw it all on at once, because you can't, when you have too much on your brush, you make a lot of mistakes. Okay, now hopefully you did see that I was in the right area. Okay, we have it there. And we're just going to get a few little, we're going to need a little more yellow, I think. Excuse me, yellow. I have it here, here's the yellow. Cadmium yellow, as we all know. It's a lovely colour as well. Put that in there. It was just, there was a little too much green in it there. Okay, some more cadmium yellow in with this mixture. Okay. And that'll give it that bit of vibrancy that we're looking for in the foreground. See, I'm just bringing it out to the edge there, a little more of the yellow. Perfect, okay. And a little, same consistency as I was saying, a nice creamy yogurt. But don't try and eat the paint the way poor old Vincent van Gogh used to. There was lead in the paint in those days, you know, in the 1870s, 1880s, and for a good while after that. And it's quite poisonous in its oil colours. But you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just holding the top of the canvas, so I have it up on the lip there of the easel, just to get to the edge of it. Just have a little bit of a foreground colour here, and the same sort of brush stroke that we used for the shadow at the bottom of the tree, except this time we're using it for a little highlight in the foreground, and it's sort of just bringing a little bit of sense of perspective to it. This is before we even go near the tree. But you'll see how it fits in later on. Okay, how's that? Can we see that? Yeah, simple, isn't it? Just bouncing around. By the way, this is like your drumming technique again, in every direction, you know, to get a nice regular, you know, flow to it. You don't want it symmetrical or anything, you know. So that's basically it. It's higher on the left, and then it disappears down to the right. Okay, so that's that. So what I'm going to have to do now is just wash this and actually dry this again, because we want to get the tree started, and we want this tree really to be a pure magenta. Okay, so I'm going to have to switch it off while I dry. Because the most boring thing is actually listening to a hairdryer, as I'm sure you're all familiar with from the classes. Okay, see you soon.